Thank you very much, Monica. So this morning, I'd like to present to you the NCI proposed new community oncology program. But first, I'd like to make a few background comments to you. Within and beyond the community setting for clinical trials to which the NCI provides access, the landscape and the climate for research and cancer practice presents new challenges. So cancer management is increasingly becoming sophisticated across the entire prevention and management continuum. So in the era of molecular and genomics, the molecular-based delivery systems are needed for the application of these advancements in the new world. The protocol-to-protocol adjustments is insufficient to sustain the foundation and the direction in which research is going, and the best laboratory in which care systems can be evaluated are the community settings. The structure of oncology care delivery is changing. We're seeing more practices that are emerging. Many of the smaller practices are being stressed financially, and there is increased practice acquisitions by hospitals, and investigators are having to negotiate and seek affirmation of the role of clinical trials within those systems. So shown here are the enrollment to the community clinical oncology program. From the inception of the program in the mid-1980s, over 250,000 individuals have been enrolled into the clinical trials network. This slide shows the enrollment over the past decade, and what we see is that the trend for this enrollment of both treatment and cancer control and prevention trials actually in treatment mimics what we see in the network. Importantly, the distribution of our enrollment is about 50% for treatment, 30-some% for cancer control, and about 15% for prevention trials. The contribution to the clinical trials network is about 30 to 40% of the enrollment. So over the years, in addition to the treatment, translation of advances into clinical practice, we've had hallmark contributions to cancer research. And among these are our large chemo prevention trials in the areas of breast and prostate cancer. And just to mention these, I think the legacy of these large trials are the enriched biospecimen repositories that are available. So for the breast cancer prevention trials, which indicated that the selective estrogen receptor modulators could reduce the incidence of breast cancer by 50%, we also have biospecimens for almost 90% of the 33,000 women who participated in those studies, in addition to tumor blocks for the cancers as well as the premalignant lesions as well as markers. And for the prostate prevention trials, of which there were two, we certainly had information that was informative about the perceptions in the community and the efficacy of supplements. And also importantly, for the first trial, we have annual serum on 18,000 men. And for the select trial, we have data on adherence and nutrition, as well as DNA from the prostate cancers, that is age and race matched controls. And last but not least on this slide are the large portfolio of symptom management and toxicity mitigation studies that we have conducted both in adults and the pediatric populations. So today I'd like to describe to you the progress for the Community Oncology Research Program. NCI was charged to integrate the existing community programs, being the CCOPs, the minority-based CCOPs, and their research bases, as well as the NCI Community Cancer Centers Program. So the NCI, the Community Oncology Program, being the driver primarily of clinical trials. The NCCCP program was started in 2007 as a pilot to support basic clinical and population-based research, and currently has 21 sites, and the CCOP network has over 60 sites. The goal for us was to build on the strengths of these programs and expand the spectrum of research. So the overarching goal for the NCORP program is to support clinical cancer care delivery research and to integrate cancer disparities. So clinical trials will continue to be the foundation for this program to help sustain the 30 to 40% contribution to the clinical trials network. We also believe that the experience in regulatory support and data collection it will be a strong foundation for the expansion of the cancer care delivery into the community sites. So this provides an opportunity for other research within cancer care delivery, health services, behavioral, and dissemination research as examples. There are core elements to this program. This is a community-based organization with a variety of research capacities that link to the clinical trials network. And this variety can be the populations that are served, the sizes, the sophistication of the IT within those programs. Another core element will be the development and support of practices with varied organizational structures as a collaborative network, and also to encourage networking amongst the investigators within that program as well. This program will engage patients who are in clinical trials, but also those patients who are not enrolled into clinical trials. The clinicians as well as management will often be subjects, as well as the organizational structures in which the research is conducted. In the NCCCP, there was a public-private commitment. This is in discussion. The NCI actually has spoken on this to the extent that cost sharing is not a requirement for federally funded research, and it is not, cannot be used in the review process. So this discussion will continue. And lastly, there is a focus to integrate cancer disparities throughout all of the research areas within the program. So what are the community components that for the proposed NCORP? There are two components, an NCORP that will enroll clinical trials, both for treatment and cancer control or prevention and post-treatment surveillance. And it will support cancer care delivery research and the disparities research. The second component will be an NCORP minority and underserved that will accommodate those large institutions that serve minority and underserved populations, and who will be charged to mentor other programs and to bring to the table the scientific and intellectual resource to help reduce disparities. And the research component, of course, will be the research basis that will continue to develop the concepts and the infrastructure support model after the current existing research basis. So eligibility for the program will be based upon the capacity to participate in cancer research. Clinical trials accrual, cancer care delivery infrastructure that we're working on to determine what the minimum infrastructure will be for the program. It would be the eligibility will look at available study populations, and certainly those populations that are underrepresented in research, and seeking to ensure that there is senior leadership and organizational support for all aspects of the research that is proposed. So what is the proposed research structure for this program? It is to be housed in the Division of Cancer Prevention. We are collaborating with the Division of Cancer Control and Population Science, the Division of Cancer Treatment and Diagnosis, and the Center to Reduce Cancer Health Disparities. We proposed a U10 cooperative agreement for 5 years, which is a bit of a change with a clear understanding that over time we've understood that the difficulty that sites have, particularly new sites, in activating and being responsive to another competitive renewal after 3 years. So this U10 for 5 years is both for the community sites and for research bases. The organizational structure for clinical trials will be that of the NCI Clinical Trials Network and the DCB research bases, including the 4 cancer centers that conduct cancer control and prevention research. We propose external representation on CTAC so that the cancer care delivery will have representation on the clinical trials advisory committee. And the organizational options for the conduct of cancer care delivery research is under discussion. There are 2 models that are included, not exclusively, but the main 2 that are being discussed are an integrated model in which the cancer care delivery research is integrated in each or multiple research bases, or a dedicated cancer care delivery research base. So this is a very busy slide, and I just wanted to take the time, and hopefully our goal is to rival that of the transformation that you saw that Jim Dorshaw presented. But I just wanted to point out a few things on this to indicate the new partners in the division. Also to point out that the representative from the Division of Cancer and Population Sciences, Dr. Steve Klauser, who is in the audience, we are proposing that if this program is funded, that there will be a steering committee with expertise in cancer care delivery, similarly modeled after the disease-oriented sites as well, and that our structure in relationship to treatment will continue, as well as utilization of the existing administrative support services. So the research basis for clinical trials for cancer care delivery and disparities will develop the concepts, oversee the assurance of quality, analyze the data, publish the data, very similar to what you all do at this particular time. So just a few comments about the NCORP clinical trials research agenda. So we wish to incorporate emerging science and novel designs across the clinical trials research area. We have an expanded research portfolio within the Division of Cancer Prevention, which includes overdiagnosis and underdiagnosis, and we wish to collect and have annotated method of diagnosis, post-treatment surveillance, precancerous lesions, and we're seeking to validate, identify and validate prognostic and predictive markers for both recurrence and response, and to have mechanisms of treatment in cancer-related symptoms, and hopefully to develop a biorepository to help support our understanding of this very important area. And we wish to integrate studies to enhance accrual of underrepresented populations into clinical trials. This is the definition that has been presented. I won't go through and read all of this, but basically to say that this area of research looks at organization of care, processes of care, and patterns for both individual and providers and their behavior and how it affects basic outcomes. In terms of the agenda for cancer care delivery research, the goal is to assure that there is optimal evidence-based therapies and system supports that are available in a routine practice, and to build evidence base for how clinical practices and organization processes and policies improve patient outcomes. And just a few examples. We know that there has been a strong effort over the last decade for multidisciplinary, multimodality therapy. We know that there are various permutations in how that is done within practices and hospitals and the combinations thereof. So studies that will look at the efficacy and the best models for this would be important. Types of organizational systems and coordination, hospitals versus freestandings, and how they differentially or non-differentially affect care, alternate patterns and the best way to implement patient navigation and family navigation, and optimal approaches to incorporate patient-reported information into clinical practice. And we hope to build a database to assess organizational approaches to improve cancer care in the underserved populations. So in our process of discussions with various stakeholders were a couple of questions that I think were very prominent, and they had to do with how does an organization that has been so focused on clinical trials incorporate and become trained in cancer care delivery research. And so we wanted to recommend a couple of things. The first being that those sites were funded, that there would be sort of a mock or study simulations at local sites so that the staff could become oriented and populated with the expertise in financial, clinical trials, and administrative areas for this particular type of research. Identify the location and sources of data within the hospitals and practices. Seek agreement from management for access of data for various studies. Identify the technical support to extract and link data with the investigators, and determine the data collection methods to support the investigators, both within the groups and external investigators who seek access to the community laboratory. We know that there have been models within the groups for training, not just for specific protocols, but also training of nurses and research, other areas in terms of research. So we think that some of the training for that would be required to expand the cancer care delivery into the programs could take place in that same venue. And finally, the guidelines, which are developed to provide guidance and the overall expectations for the program, could also include information that would help make the transition of this research into the population. I won't go through all of these questions, but again, we wish to integrate cancer disparities agenda throughout the program. For example, as we move into an era of biospecimens, the Center to Reduce Cancer Disparities has networks that have been working to try to educate the advocacy community as well as other populations about biospecimens and the consenting to do that, so there could be some partnerships within those programs to help move the program along. There are issues and challenges in the community setting, and they include increasing the number of trials on the CTSU. Currently, the cancer control and prevention trials are not all placed on the CTSU. In discussion, we are now undergoing discussions with CTEP to utilize the CRRB for primary review of cancer control and prevention studies as well. We are evaluating the infrastructure requirements at the local level for collecting and processing of biospecimens. We're also looking to hopefully strengthen the infrastructure and to ensure that the pathologists and other personnel that are important for the transit and the processing of specimens is in place as well. We're developing a single portal of entry for institution rostering for the Clinical Trials Network to improve efficiency of having to roster with multiple networks. And finally, we're transitioning to the use of the network's Oncology Patient Enrollment Network, otherwise known as OPEN. So I'd like to end by presenting our proposed timeline. We hope to have an internal review of the concept in April and take a concept to the Board of Scientific Advisors in June of 2013 of this year. So we hope to have a funding opportunity announcement for release in the fall with a goal of making the awards in 2014. So thank you.